If The Rise of Skywalker had ended by revealing that Palpatine was actually Michael Ironside's character from the movie Spacehunter, then that movie would have gone over so much better with people. Jesse Shade here for Awfully Good Movies on behalf of the JoBlo YouTube network. And while we wait and see if Disney and Lucasfilm can pull off a consistently good and narratively coherent trilogy of Star Wars sequels this time, while George Lucas is still alive to see it, let us head back to the simpler times of 1983, when the finale of the original trilogy was just about to hit theaters. And the late great Ivan Reitman wanted to cash in along the same lines as Battle Beyond the Stars and the Ice Pirates by producing a space opera of his very own, set to hit theaters the weekend right before Return of the Jedi, with the pre-stardom Molly Ringwald and Ernie Hudson helping a bland Han Solo knockoff rescue 3 stranded girls on a dystopian desert planet who are caught in the big meaty robot claws of Michael Ironside. Not to mention a cameo from another future Ghostbuster.
And the police called from the 42 sector. You got 105 parking tickets. I think you should take care of that.
Forget Star Wars or Spaceballs. The movie that we really want to see a legacy sequel to is Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, in this space scavenging episode of Awfully Good Movies.
So that last installment of the Star Wars saga certainly elicited some divided reactions among its audiences.
Oh, goddamn bitch! You ain't this goddamn one!
But its latest installment just may bring the fans back together again, as Ron Howard comes behind the director's seat to give us the origin story of how the legendary Han Solo first met Chewie, Lando, and the Millennium Falcon in the latest Star Wars prequel, Solo. And even though we've seen Disney hit some speed bumps while making this installment, the flick could still bring back those fans who weren't won over by that last chapter. After all, you can't simply write off a franchise that completely changed the landscape of the movie industry back in the 70s and 80s, with a whole bunch of cheapo movie producers eager to rake in the cash with their own Star Wars ripoff movies. And one of the most audacious of these ripoffs came out in 1983 under the title Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. Unlike most Star Wars ripoffs, however, this flick was bankrolled by a major studio and had a big-name executive producer, Ivan Reitman, who was just making it big in Hollywood with his directorial collaborations with Bill Murray. Also, it had the honor of being presented in movie theaters in 3D, as a lot of movies were that year. But this Star Wars clone is most notable in that it had the balls to come out exactly 1 week before the final chapter of the actual Star Wars franchise. And even with the audiences of people who were probably forced to see this movie instead of Return of the Jedi due to sold-out theaters, it wasn't enough money or critical praise for Columbia Pictures to greenlight any further adventures of the Forbidden Zone. But with the Star Wars franchise going on as long as it has, then perhaps Spacehunter will now seem like a refreshing spin on the Star Wars formula instead of just a cheap copy. Hell, it's not like this is the first time that the three-dimensional format was associated with the Star Wars movies before. You remember 6 years ago when George Lucas was planning on re-releasing all the movies in 3D conversions, and he started off by re-releasing those godforsaken prequels first?
Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace is coming to the big screen. Hurry up, Qui-Gon! You don't want to be late to the celebration.
Hurry up, Qui-Gon!
We were able, I think, to create a really good 3D experience.
This, honestly, is the worst 3D I've ever seen. Can we watch episode 5 instead?
So we open on an intergalactic cruise ship touring the wonders of the galaxy long after it has been colonized by humankind, when the ship gets damaged by a bolt of nebular lightning and is forced to evacuate its passengers onto escape pods.
Have a nice day.
Thank you!
And one of the pods lands on the nearest habitable planet to pop open and reveal that Daft Punk and Robbie the Robot are finally collaborating on an album together. Actually, it's 3 beautiful ladies underneath these spacesuits, who are quickly greeted by a gang of the planet's few remaining inhabitants, after a plague has wiped out most of the population. So a reward is offered to whichever space traveler manages to rescue these 3 girls off the planet, which captures the attention of an intergalactic scrap collector known by the name Wolf, as played by Peter Strauss, who you may remember as the voice of Justin in The Secret of NIMH. And lest you think this character is just a total Han Solo ripoff, I'll have you know that his partner is not a male humanoid dog alien, but rather a female humanoid android named Chalmers.
Chalmers, the communicator is out again.
Skinner?
Ah, now it makes sense. These two are scouring the galaxy of upstate New York for some steamed hams.
Aurora Borealis.
So Wolf and Chalmers land on the planet only to get swept up in a battle between the Marauders who are holding the three girls hostage on their pirate ship named Zoners, and some motorcycle riding sand raiders with glittery helmets named Scavs. And not only do these three girls end up getting knocked out and snatched up by some hang gliding goons, but Chalmers ends up getting shot to death and permanently deactivated, forcing Wolf to activate her Wicked Witch self-destruct program.
I'm melting. Oh, what a world, what a world. Who would have thought a good little space captain like you could destroy my beautiful mechanical nurse?
The Zoners proceed to tell Wolf that the Scavs have taken the three girls to an area of the planet known as the Zone, for the girls to serve at the pleasure of the tyrannical leader of the Scavs, a cyborg doctor turned mechanical and maniacal dictator, played by legendary cinematic bad guy Michael Ironside, who's known by the name Overdog.
What gifts for the great Overdog?
Overdog? Really? As opposed to Underdog, so his name is Overdog? The bitch doesn't even look like a dog. More like Lon Chaney's Phantom of the Opera trying on Joker's teeth grills.
Undress her. Slowly. Yes.
But to get to Overdog, Wolf must venture through the dangerous terrain of the Forbidden Zone. Even though I'm pretty sure Dr. Zaius already warned us about marching into Forbidden Zones.
You may not like what you find. Damn you all to hell!
And early into his journey, he almost gets his four-wheeler hijacked by a teenage female scavenger named Nikki, played by a pre-16 Candles Molly Ringwald.
I know about the new Earth Brawlies. They flew by here. I'll track you to him, because without me, you ain't gonna find him in Millennium.
Ooh, wonderful. I can't wait for her to decide on whether to go with Wolf or Overdog to the Forbidden Zone's senior prompocalypse. And after Wolf agrees to bring Nikki along so she can help navigate the way to Overdog's headquarters, he comes across another living soul amidst this desolate terrain. His old brother of another skin color, Lando Calrissian Washington. This character is named Washington, as played by a pre-Ghostbusters Ernie Hudson.
That's the oldest trick in the book. I didn't fall for it when we were in training. I'm sure not gonna fall for it now. So get up. Hey, Wolf.
A way to immediately undermine yourself, Ernie. Listen, man, I'm not gonna fall for your old tricks again. Oh, god damn it! I immediately fell for your old tricks again, after I explicitly promised I wouldn't. Damn it, Ernie, when you ask yourself if your friend is just playing dead, you say yes! Now, you may have noticed that even though this movie is clearly advertised as an intergalactic cinematic ripoff of Star Wars,
the first movie that put you in outer space.
The last time that we saw anything involving space was a good, 28 minutes ago, and that should make you mad, much like a certain Australian cop named Max. Yes, if cheapo movie producers weren't able to make a Star Wars ripoff in the early 80s, then they usually turn to ripping off the Mad Max movies. You just stick a bunch of actors in the desert and make them wear some rags and babble out some bullshit future speak dialogue while he bashed and smashed up a whole bunch of cars. Well, the makers of this film have basically Trojan horsed a Mad Max ripoff inside of a Star Wars ripoff. In fact, having a male lead hero who's being navigated around an apocalyptic wasteland by a scrappy, tough-as-nails female makes this movie look like what would have happened if George Miller was able to make Fury Road back in the 80s instead of having to wait for 30 years. And if the studio had forced George Miller to rewrite Furiosa to be the most annoying teenage brat in the history of film.
Well, thank you. It's been the real charge of my life just hang around for a couple days. Jump? Are you kidding me? I can't move. Maybe you don't think I'm nothing, but there's plenty of people that think different, and they're looking for me even. So I don't have to go around begging no earthly for no warm places, news, or nothing to eat.
Look, you can tell from her performance here that Molly Ringwald was on the brink of evolving into a better actress. But her character is so poorly written that it does no favors for a poor little kid who's only in the second role of her career. However, she is a far more sympathetic character than the film's alleged hero, Wolf, who is basically Han Solo if you took away any sense of humanity or sympathy away from the character, and all that was left of Han Solo was his dryly sarcastic quips.
Works every time. Why can't anything be simple anymore?
Whatever you say, princess.
I'll take that bet.
You're like fly shit on the window. First little breeze that blows and you're gone.
That's good. You're becoming a real philosopher. Holy shit.
Oh great, and now this douchebag just ran over Supreme Leader Snoke with his car! The poor guy just got out of the hospital, you bastard! But in between all this tedious arguing between our two unlikable and whiny protagonists, it is a lot of fun to watch in a lot of places. Whether you consider this a Star Wars ripoff or a Mad Max ripoff, the ridiculous looking villains in this movie could suggest either one. Whether it be the Amazon female warriors cosplaying as Amber Heard from Aquaman, or this underwater creature who looks like Sigmund the shitting sea monster. Plus you got Michael Ironside camping up a storm with his performance, even though the villain of our film does not appear for a good 50 minutes into it, and Ernie Hudson plays a character who would make a far better hero for this movie than its actual lead hero.
Washington, give her some water.
What? Yeah. Good.
So even though our two annoying heroes of the film are a big turnoff, this film is a pretty amusing experience overall. So perhaps there is an alternate universe out there in the galaxy where this movie ended up being just as big a franchise as Star Wars is. Perhaps we would have seen them make Wolf, a Forbidden Zone story, starring Alden Redenbacher and Childish Bambino, as directed by Clint Howard. I may have never made the Kessel run in 12 parsecs, but I sure can make a beer run in 12 seconds, so we can play the awfully good drinking game. Take a shot or drink every time the movie pops another 3D effect in your face, which doesn't mean anything nowadays because the video release is only in 2D. But could you imagine what these astonishing 3D effects would have looked like in the movie theater?
You will feel at home here after a little mood enhancer.
Whoa, look out! Am I in a galaxy far, far away? Or am I in a fucking dentist office about to get a shot of Novocaine? Wolf and Nikki are ambushed by a new gang of bad guys, which also include the mutant baby men brothers from Nothing But Trouble.
I win my deal! No, I won my deal! My hands on top! My deal, I win!
And a gang of radioactively deformed children who look like Sloth.
Why, they're children, aren't they?
And as laughably cheap as the mask may look on these kids, you at least have to admit that they look less creepy than the Ewoks. You hear one of the characters drop some future speak dialogue.
You always gotta use those scazzy words. I don't have to go no place to brain work that stuff's poison. Got any joint smoke on you? It's been a long, dry day.
Come on, screenwriters. This stuff isn't so much on the level of George Orwell's 1984 as it is on the level of any given Valley Girl in the 1980s. And take a double shot when the Overdog makes his captives run through his evil maze.
Let the gates begin! Yes!
They sure have come a long way from Monday Night Football.
And I'll admit that it may not be as good as the original show, but this dark, gritty reboot of Legends of the Hidden Temple is way better than I thought it'd be.
Doors open, he's gonna make it into the crawl space and head for the pit of despair. Goes into the pit of despair.
Fatality.
And on the nudie watch, though I certainly like the sight of these Amazonian aqua girls over here, it's a bit more gross when you watch Wolf trying to manhandle Molly Ringwald into getting a bath, especially since this film suggests that this 40-year-old man sat there watching this 15-year-old girl throughout her entire bath? Seriously, the villain of the film is far less lecherous towards this girl than the hero is.
I like her. I like her for the maze.
Oh, how considerate of you, Michael Ironside. Just because you're a deranged cyborg who needs to suck the life force out of innocent female captives doesn't mean you have to violate a woman's boundaries. Or potentially be a fucking pedophile.
What's going on?
On the enjoyableness continuum scale from Boulder Bruce, Spacehunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone isn't going to be getting any special editions anytime soon, but does go into hyperspeed to reach a 6 out of 10. If you want a laughable Star Wars ripoff, then this flick just may make you laugh it up, fuzzball. I'm Jesse Shade for JoBlo.com, and if Disney wants any more Han Solo spin-off movies starring this Alden Roland Rocker kid, I have thrown out this idea before, and I'm going to throw it out again. We do a whole prequel about the origin story of Chewbacca's masturbating father, Itchy.
JoBlo, he sure likes to drink a lot. JoBlo watches movies like the hero man. JoBlo.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.